Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's a new season of Ozicar here Monday nights on Simspeed TV, and round one of the Ozicar Tin Top Cup takes us to Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, Interlagos, Brazil, and the weather is a big factor in the Toyota GR86 for this season. Wet tyres available, weather around everywhere we go. We'll see what that brings across multiple races and across this season. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy, to bring you coverage of this new season. Jason, I think the drivers are pretty excited. There's plenty of them. This is going to be a real test of the drivers' adaptability this season.
Yeah, good evening, Dave. Good evening, listeners out there. We're back for, like I said, another season of some great racing. These Toyota GR86s, doesn't matter what circuit you put them on, they tend to produce really good racing. You did just allude to the depth of the quality of the field that we have here tonight. 30 plus drivers for the round one of this little sub season of the overall championship. We'll just zoom in and have a quick look of the circuit here, and a circuit that's been around, seen plenty of racing over the years, different formats, different styles, and you ask any of the drivers and they always list this as one of their favourite circuits that to compete and to race on. Some unique, tight, twisty little corners that allow for some switchback side-by-side racing, and of course you've got that long run down the straight into turn one and between 3 and 4, so draft opportunity aplenty, but of course all that is going to be play victim to the weather that we're potentially going to get this evening.
There is an immense amount of history around this place at Interlagos. You can still see parts of the old circuit when you look from above. Opened in 1940. This layout since 1999, a shorter layout than it was originally around Interlagos. I think it fits just right for the Ozicar Tin Top Cup. And plenty of elevation too to go with it. Pretty mountainous around this area. This is what tonight's racing is going to look like. 2 10-lap or 20-minute races, expecting all of them to go 2 10 laps. Qualifying just wrapping up now, heading into race number 1, grid set by qualifying, and then race number 1.1, perhaps race 2 even, is the one that follows with the progressive grid. It's going to be a great season. This is a live look at the weather, so I think that's drying up right now. We're through that band of rain by the looks of things. Jason?
Yeah, but if you look to the right-hand side of the radar, there is a heavy downpour that is scheduled to arrive. Now, whether that is before 10 laps is up or not, we'll soon find out. But looking at our starting grid, Ewan Baker taking the pole ahead of Ben Faulkner. Good result for him to open his campaign this season. Josh Horton, Dylan DeBono, Jamie Stovall and Matthew Pluck make up your top 6 this evening. We've got Brady Shepherd, Tom Freer, James Chastanoff a little bit further down the field than he'd like. He's beside Douglas Gowans. Hayden Kirk, a name we haven't seen, I don't think, for quite a while for Kiwi Sim Racing, and John Merritt back as well, a name that's destined to be up amongst the pointy end.
Adrian Jukes then here in 13th, alongside Sean Doyle, Tim Harris, Cameron Hardwick, Glenn Riddell, Tony Baker, and the large field of Toyota GR86s continues. Will Chen, Warren Henry, Peter Wilkinson, Jordan Dakin, Nathan Verney, and Dennis Hancock. Matthew Gerard, Callum Heinrich, Ben Wheeler, Daniel Fritz, Leon Williams, John Snell, Matthew Harriet, Ira Felberg, Matthew Joy, Brendan Nealon, and Dyson Freeman. It was a wet qualifying. The track's beginning to dry up now. That's why you see such a large variation from the front of the field to the tail of the field with those super challenging conditions in the wet. But it's certainly looking quite a bit drier right now. I think we got 20 minutes of dry weather in us for race number 1 to kick off a new season of Ozicar Tin Top Cup from Interlagos. Certainly that there is some nasty rain coming, but it is just a little while away. We're ready to get racing. First race of the new season in Ozicar. The green flag waves and the Toyota GR86s roar away from the grid. Racing car gearbox in these things, tall first gear. They stop, they stutter just a little bit, and then they kick into action. Revs rising, heading towards turn 1, and there is a wet track that will dry as we go. You've got to be so careful. The grip is challenging to find, and that's Dylan De Bono around, parked in the grass, watching the whole field go by.
Yeah, all his hard work in qualifying coming undone really early in the race. But out in front, you can see Ewan Baker making a mockery of the rest of the guys from the light. Actually, I think it might be Ben Faulkner going with him, and then we've got a real gaggle of cars, 3 wide here, battling as they go into the heavy braking zone for the first time. This just might catch a few drivers out. They tend to go back to single file and work their way through without too much drama. Really good effort from everybody there amongst all the spray that's being kicked up.
It's busy in the midfield. Ewan Baker, Ben Faulkner have disappeared, but this is Joshua Horton on back. John Merritt just behind that. Matthew Pluck going round the outside of Ferradura here as well. Ferradura means horseshoe. I'd rather gumboots than horseshoes right now in these conditions, and you can go clean around the outside of a corner like this if you find some grip, if you find some traction in this Toyota GR86. This is Glenn Riddle a long way back. Yeah, I can actually see that on my timing. He's the only car on dry tyres. I suspect that's not doing very well for him right now. He's lost 20 seconds already. Everyone else got a bit of tread going on. The Toyota GR86's dry tyre is a complete slick. That's not the case for some other cars like the Formula 4.
Yeah, but that's good though. It's good to see someone take the gamble, particularly early on in the season. If everybody just played the same card, then this just adds an extra element to the race. We'll jump on board with Sean Doyle now, buried deep in the pack, sitting back in P12. So it looks like he might be up a couple of positions from where he qualified. He's tucked underneath the slipstream, ready to complete lap number 1, but you can see the spray of cars as they make their way across the start-finish line for the first time. Jump on board with Sean and get a real idea and perspective of exactly what these drivers are facing.
Those wipers are going to be on for everyone behind the leader. Tyre graphic on the column, so you know everyone here is on the grooved wet tyres. Continental tyres for these, if I recall. Yeah, there's a little graphic on there somewhere. We're side by side through turn 3. Again, in this battle for third place. First and second are well and truly checked out so far in this one. Horton's trying to hold on to his third, but Merritt's going to go around the outside. Is there less braking efficiency there, but perhaps more grip out there? Doesn't really quite look like it. Horton still holds on. It is so busy behind him.
So we're still side by side as we're battling for position, and just because you've got the inside line doesn't necessarily mean you go the fastest way around the corner. You can see the extra grip being held on the outside. He's right on the limit up against the white line there, doing exactly what he needs to do to hold that position. So a lot of water tends to pool on the inside camber of the corner, and that's where a lot of these drivers can get caught out if they're hard on the brakes into that zone. But everybody makes it through the infield for the second time. But you can see the leaders out in front, they have got clear daylight behind them, and this little battle for third consists of about 6 cars. So long way to go. We're still only on lap 2 of 10 here in this opening race of this opening Toyota 86 season, and already these cars and these drivers are putting on exactly what we'd expect to see from the Aussie car field.
Somewhere I think I've still got a VHS tape of Channel 9's coverage of the 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix, where it was also massively wet and a super challenging day. Giancarlo Fisichella got a surprise win, and Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso had some pretty nasty accidents. Some history for that here at Interlagos. Everyone is now on wet tyres because Glenn Cito Riddle has either binned it or changed off them. Ewan Baker still leads from Faulkner. Jamie Stovall now, the driver, up into third place as we've had this chopping and changing, and oh, down the inside, maybe squeezing him out a little bit, goes Merritt, who now gets to that third. But the pack that they have got going on here is something.
So you see Brent Faulkner in the draft of Ewan Baker. So Ewan was one of our championship contenders, took it right down to the wire at the final round of our Formula Ford series. Unable to bring home the chocolates that night, but he started this season exactly the way you'd expect him to, in big form, into the braking zone again, down into turn 4. It's a car around, looks like one of the Kiwi sim racing cars, Matthew Pluck, facing the wrong way. So doing a really good job to reverse out of harm's way there so he doesn't get collected by anybody else, but losing a heap of track time at the moment.
Stovall trying to go around the outside of Ferradura. It's been effective before. Looks good for Stovall in his continuing battle for the podium. It's a progressive grid to race number 2 as well. Every position you gain is a position you gain. Merritt pretty wily here, holding on as he attempts to find some grip. Keep an eye on the lap times as the track looks to dry off, and it really should with this many cars out here. You love these conditions for the fact that they can race side by side, and you're never quite sure where the grip is going to be, which is the preferred line. It's always interesting. There's maybe a tiny bit of contact. Merritt spins around.
You can just imagine the wheel work that's happening inside that little Toyota 86, but he gets the car back on track, drops his way down the pecking order down to P8. So battling for a position on the podium there, and finds himself just inside the top 10, but he's not too far behind the train of cars that is in front of him. So with a bit of luck, head down and some clean laps, I'm sure he'll make his way back up a few positions before the drop of the checkered flag.
Ewan Baker and Ben Faulkner both reset the fastest lap of the race. They're finding a little bit more speed as they go, but that weather is moving quicker than I thought. We're only 7 minutes into this race, and we are most of the way towards that yellow band of rain, so I think we've got more rain coming just before the end of this one. The field is starting to spread out, and we have a good look at turn 1 and some of the battles elsewhere through the field. 55 Brodie Shepherd, there's a couple of Vermilion Motorsport cars out there, I notice. So quite a few teams have gotten together and said this looks like it could be a little bit of fun.
Yeah, so Dylan DeBono, another one of our returning drivers, part of the Velocity Sim Labs race team, jump on board with him, and you can see him tucked underneath the back there, looking for some draft, but nowhere to go. Looks to go the outside into the braking zone there, trying to find the long way around, but that does leave the door open to stick his nose down the inside. Gets good drive and has the inside line. Still hasn't got the job done there, but 3 wide as they make their way through the infield section there. Looks like a car may be just suffering a bit of a slowdown penalty and getting back up to speed.
Yeah, someone had a wobble through 3 and 4. Once again, we're seeing how much grip there is just around the outside of Ferradura, but I don't think there's much grip on that curb out there. You do got to be careful, and you got to be careful because someone spun around. Jordan Dakin, Tony Baker, maybe just come together a tiny bit there.
You were just talking about wobbles, and a wise man once said one of the worst kind of wobbles you can get is the speed wobble. So conditions like this, there's plenty of wheel work to be done out there amongst the drivers, and a bit of patience certainly goes a long way. You can see one of the Toyota Echuca cars there coming together facing the wrong way, and of course the field had nowhere to go. You can see the dark clouds, of course, getting a little bit heavier in the background as well, so that's right on cue with what the weather radar we were looking at just a moment ago explains.
Here we are in 6th place with Tom Freer. Those wipers working overtime as the spray is kicked up off all 4 tyres of the car in front, which is James Chastanoff. Then you've got Joshua Horton and Jamie Stovall. The 3rd, 4th, 5th on back has all spread out just a little bit. Why is Sean Doyle in the pits from 11th?
They might be looking to put some fresh rubber on before the rain comes in, potentially.
Yeah, there's a few other cars in. Right here as well. I was looking, there's Tony Baker had the meatball flag. Maybe there was one for Sean Doyle as well. might have been something around that. Here's the race leader, Ewan Baker. He's almost got a second to Ben Faulkner.
Oh.
Is that where the grip is, you reckon?
Out on the painted stuff, I'd be doing my best to avoid any of that. There's absolute daylight though between the first two and the rest of the field at the moment. The gap out there is substantially large. As you can just see how much Ewan Baker's pushing there. His car was right out sideways as he gets the thing back under control. Let's see if he dives into the pits to react to the weather that's potentially coming at this stage.
Yeah, we're at the halfway point of race number 1, and you've noticed across the last lap or so, it's gotten darker. The sun was out at the start of this race. We were drying up, picking up speed as we went. Now, you can see it's about to really open up from the heavens, and the pace will fall away from where it is right now. Ben Faulkner sets his best lap of the race. Jamie Stovall, Joshua Horton, James Chastanoff. I think this is the Triple J's right here.
There's a few cars in the background getting caught out as well, so this is the point where we really start to see some of the drivers. They've braking markers and their acceleration points will all change compared to how it has been the last couple of laps. So what are we on, lap 5, 6 now of our 10-lap race? Things are just starting to get interesting.
Now Sean Doyle's got a black flag for an unsafe pit exit, so we don't know quite why he stopped, and now he's got a drive-through penalty. Again, he was actually sort of within the top 10 there as well before all of this, so not ideal for him. Race lead's getting a fair chunk closer here, and the thing that is throwing me for a loop now in these wet conditions is I look at the timing and I go, oh yeah, there's 7 tenths between first and second. And then you look at it on screen here and it's only like 2 car lengths. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're not going especially quickly in these conditions.
What's interesting though is while you're watching some of these drivers find the grip levels here, the varying different race lines that these drivers are doing, trying to explore, trying to get the upper hand on the competitor around them at the moment, just trying to find a bit more grip. You can see taking the traditional wet line there right out off the racing line, cut back across the inside of the corner there, try and keep the car straight as you can for as long as you can, particularly in those braking zones.
This is Stovall being closed by Horton, Chastanoff watching on. Backwards from 3rd place at 4th place along the pit straight. Heading to T1. Horton's got some decisions to make. Stovall leaves a car width open. Oh, and they almost have a bit of a touch there, I reckon. Heading into turn number 1 here in this battle, raging on for 3rd position through this switchback in the Center S and into turn 3, Curva de Sol. That's a good run from Horton.
Yeah, really impressive, Josh Horton's race so far. Just as the rain drops, you can see them on your screen that they start to pick up. The heavy rain starts to fall from the skies. So these drivers will be walking on eggshells at the moment, looking for the grip that wasn't there the last time around.
How about 3 wide back here as well?
The track was any wider, I'm sure they'd be going 4 wide. You can see getting very snaky there. Another one of those Kiwi sim racing cars, 57 of Matthew Pluck there in 51, sorry. So he's looking really racy at the moment, relishing these conditions while he's trying to make the most of the drivers around him being a little bit cautious.
And around the outside, once again, is going to be the way to go through Ferradura. As Matthew Pluck picks off Brody Shepherd, he goes backwards to Bono. Pluck moving forward in this group here. It's Douglas Gowans, who also gets through there on Matthew Gerard. Brody Shepherd, 12th amongst the group.
Just an interesting little side note, you can see on your display on the left-hand side, Ben Faulkner taking the fastest lap of the race once the rain conditions have picked back up. So Ewan Baker's had that little purple accolade by his name for the first 6 laps. Ben Faulkner really, really enjoying these conditions out here at the moment.
The fight's on behind. A little bit of panel to panel between Chastanoff and Horton. Horton makes the swap across in his fight with Chastanoff to try to take it back. Gets down the inside looking for the swap over-under. But there's a car parked right there. Chastanoff finds his way to 5th place. Bit of wheel work through what would be easy flat out in the dry.
While this has been happening, Jamie Stovall looks like he's just opened the gap a little bit, stretching those legs just over to a second gap to the car in front. So while they battle over 4th and 5th, Jamie just making the most of the little battle pack that's formed behind him.
So Pluck moves ahead into Bono. Brody Shepherd now back on the attack, looking to pull out of the draft, pull out of the spray from behind De Bono. Bono looking down the inside of Pluck here towards turn 4. Pluck looks to have mostly found the grip there, but it's the outside of Ferradura up the top of the hill where I really think is where you want to be. And that's where Dylan De Bono's got to.
So lap 8 of 10, we're getting down to the closing stages of race number 1 here tonight. There's a car very, very wide. I don't think there'll be too much grip out there, but he's losing a couple of positions and a heap of time in the process. Who is that in the Velocity Sim Racing? Douglas Gowan. So just losing another position there as he gets himself back up to speed. But a lap and a half to go. These weather conditions don't look like they are going to improve in the short period of time. So this might be what we've got until the drop of the checkered flag here in race number 1. There's plenty of calls for race control in the background, as well as a lot of drivers are having lots of issues with
A couple of drivers are off. Like Shepherd, this is at Junsao, and 2 cars have backed it in there. Brody Shepherd first, and then Matthew Gerard's followed him. And they've both found less grip this time around than they were expecting, and been off. And I think that was from 5th for Brody Shepherd.
So a Ozicar.net replay will explain what's happened out there on that AstroTurf. There goes one, and a synchronized spin out of Sympathy. Oh, very, very rough ride, but managing to pull it up without hitting the barriers. But nonetheless, that would have been a pretty exciting on-board experience for him as he tried to come to a complete stop. Lucky not to have hit the other car that had already had a spin.
Matthew Gerard's had to pit, so he's out having a wobble there. But there's a puddle that had begun to form in this this increasing rain, and I think both drivers just hit that puddle. Needed to be a bit further to the left for optimal grip in their braking zone. Ewan Baker's out to a 1.2 second lead over Ben Faulkner, but they're still the 2 runaway drivers because the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th here, Stovall, Horton, Chastano, is as close as ever. So there's Nathan Verney through turn 2. Oh,
very soft touch on the wall. Got to be careful on that rejoin as there's a few cars looking for a way around, and bang, smack bang into the tail lights, and around goes Verney again. So unfortunately not able to rejoin there safely, and has come together with another car trying to make their way around the circuit.
just when I get out, they try to pull me back in again.
So on board, Hayden Kirk, position 7 at the moment, tucked underneath the Toyota Chuka livery Toyota 86 in front.
And this is the end of the 10 laps. No, Ewan Baker started the final lap. So we're starting the final lap on board with here. Ewan Baker and Ben Faulkner already on the final lap. Oh, bit of a wobble, bit of a slide. Good catch. Hayden Kirk moves ahead. Sorry, John Merritt moves ahead Kirk. Got more battling side by side with turn number 1 here, this group. Harris, Freer, Dylan, DeBono, Matthew Pluck. Pluck and DeBono are 2 drivers that I think have come through the field so far this race. So Harris and Freer need to be on the lookout right now.
Yeah, John Merritt's up 6 where he started the race 10 laps ago, so he's well and truly inside the top 10. A couple of good other movers and shakers up the field is Ben Wheeler from 27 up to 14, so a really good effort for him as well in race number 1.
Horton and Stovall are going to fight this out for the podium all the way to the end. More water pooling against the curbs in other little places. Treacherous now on the final lap. Mega move by Pluck back there. He's just picked up a couple of spots. Ewan Baker, though, up the hill he goes, flat out with the checkered flag waiting for him. Pulled away now to 1.4 seconds from Ben Faulkner, and these two have just been something else compared to the rest of the field. Waltzing away from lap 1, finding the grip everywhere they go, and in a short 10-lap race, a big lead. Ewan Baker takes the win from Ben Faulkner, and you're going to need to look a bit further back for the final step on the podium where they're biffing, they're banging doors, but it's nose in front for Joshua Horton at the moment, and I think that means he's going to take 3rd place. No, Stovall's got his nose in front. Let me look at that one. Stovall by 9 thousandths of a second.
Best seat in the house to watch that was James Chastanoff in P5, but further back down the field they are still fighting for position. So this is looking for 8, 9 and 10, and it is Tom Freer, Matthew Pluck and Dylan DeBono who had that spin early on lap number 1, so a good job for him to make his way back into the top 10 after being relegated down the field. John Snell, Cameron Hardwick still going at it as well, only half a second separating these 2 drivers as they go into the braking zone. Hardwick moving right underneath the rear wing of the Toyota 86 driver of John Snell. Looks like Snell getting a pretty good drive back up the hill though, so he's not going to be under too much threat as he approaches the checkered flag.
Track's looking super slick, the rain's still coming down. That final lap, Ewan Baker dropped 3 seconds to where his previous personal best was. So the track's lost about 3-4 seconds a lap from where it was in this race, and the final lap looking to be the most treacherous of all of them right here. Now head up to 20th place. Take the checkered flag. The spray also much increased as well.
So 29-30 is still making their way across the field. We did have 32 cars on the lead lap, so all these drivers still on the lead lap. Adrian Duke leading this little train across the line, followed by Daniel Fritz, 29 and 30. Looks like our last car on the lead lap. Actually, no, this is Nathan Verney, and he is a lap down. So after suffering that black flag drive-through penalty after a unscheduled pit stop, Nathan Verney finishing in P32 for race number 1.
So let's run through it then. Ewan Baker and Ben Faulkner, and look at the prodigious lead they had over everyone else. Jamie Stovall just pinching it away from Joshua Horton there. James Chastanoff not too far behind that. And then John Merritt, Hayden Kirk, Tom Freer, Matthew Pluck, Dylan DeBono, and Tim Harris, Douglas Gowans, Brody Shepherd, Warren Henry, Ben Wheeler, Matthew Gerard, Sean Doyle, Dennis Hancock, Peter Wilkinson, Matthew Harriott, and John Snell, Cameron Hardwick, Will Chen, Ira Felberg, Jordan Dakin, Tony Baker, Leon Williams, Matthew Joy, Adrian Duke, Daniel Fritz, and then finally Brendan Nealon on the lead lap, Callum Heinrich, Nathan Verney, Dyson Freeman, Glenn Riddell just off of the lead lap in race number 1. So, as we start a new season of Ozicar Tin Top Cup, got to look back just a couple of weeks at how the Ozicar Formula Ford season finished up. It's Jamie Stovall there, victorious in a race that and a championship fight that went down to the final race against Ewan Baker, and James Chastanoff, Brody Shepherd, and Tom Freer there It was super close, super competitive in that car. Stovall was just victorious. It'll be competitive again in this car as we look at our 6-round championship schedule for this season. Interlagos, then Okayama, Detroit, Silverstone, Mount Panorama, and the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Should all be pretty interesting. There's one more race of Ozicar Tin Top Cup to come up tonight. That's not far away, so stay with us on Simspeed TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back at Interlagos for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. Ozicar supported by Sim Racing League's Locked On Lads and Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. Here at Interlagos, it's been all eyes in the sky, all eyes at the weather radar as to what the conditions are doing. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy on Simspeed TV. Jason, we've been having a look, and we think going to be continually drying up into race number 2.
Yeah, you can see the drivers out on practice doing their warm-up at the moment. The radar shows that the wet weather is about to subside relatively soon. It is still very slippery out there, as you see a number of cars finding the grip limits and then out onto the wet grass. So it'll be interesting. It sounds like race number 2, the feature race tonight, is going to be a complete topsy-turvy scenario of what we had in race number 1. So, but on saying that, you can see there's just no cloud coming in the immediate future on the radar at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see who elects to start on some wet weather tyres, who starts on the slicks, and that really could determine the outcome of this race.
Absolutely it could. We're a progressive grid from race 1 to race 2, and that means that Ewan Baker and Ben Faulkner again are going to be the front row of the grid for the start, or the standing start, uphill in race number 2. Joshua Horton got himself that third, and there's a few drivers that are going to hope to make good gains off the race start. There you see your top 6, Horton, Chastanov, and Merritt as well. I'm just reading the results of race number 1 verbatim again, with Hayden Kirk, Tom Freer, Matthew Pluck, and Dylan DeBono, then Tim Harris and Douglas Gowans, and go to the top 24 here with Shepherd, Henry, Wheeler, Gerard, Sean Doyle, Dennis Hancock, and Peter Wilkinson, Matthew Harriet, John Snell, Cameron Hardwick, Will Chen, Ira Fellberg. I think Wilkinson and Harriet are some drivers that made a couple of spots. We'll see if anyone's learned a little bit about the standing start here, because it's a super tall first gear. If you can, you want to slip that clutch as you rev and get away from the wet standing start, a track that might dry across 10 laps, 20 minutes. Final race from Interlagos for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. looks like second gets away a little bit initially. They all bog down in that tall first gear. Ewan Baker still leads, but Joshua Horton rockets his way to third place. John Merritt rockets his way to fifth. Matt Block side by side with Tim Harris as they battle. There's some four wide and some late breakers heading in towards turn number one. Where's the grip at? It's constantly changing.
Yeah, you did mention Tim Harris. He got an absolutely ripper start from further back down the field, so making up a couple of positions. You can see the orange, looks like the Fast and Furious livery Toyota there, getting a little bit sideways through the, turn 3. You can see him hard up against the fence there as he tries to make his way back onto the circuit, but the two out in front, Ewan Baker and Ben Faulkner, as we saw in race number 1, making a clean break for it, while the rest of the field squabble over the final positions on the opening lap.
There is a fair amount of carnage all through the field off of this race start in these conditions. Ben Faulkner had a dive for the race lead and he's come away with it. Dennis Hancock's car is an absolute mess. He started on dry tyres. He got drilled from behind in turn 3 as I don't think the car behind knew he was on dry tyres. We've got a bit of contact here and Matthew Pluck's been spun out into the outfield as he's come across someone's nose there. He's going to try to get back onto the circuit. Pretty messy with the pack all brought back together again for this start in race number 2. It's Faulkner with a little bit of fresh air on his nose for the first time this round.
Yeah, this is Ben's first time leading the field using the track and then some, looking for some grip out on the painted stuff. We saw a few cars come unstuck in race number 1 out there, but he keeps things under control. But this is the opportunity that he's been looking for, first time out in front, to really showcase some of the speed that he's got.
Warren Henry off there. There's been plenty of that on this opening lap. Got a bit of side-by-side back here. Heading up the hill, you're full throttle towards turn number 1. Dylan DeBono and Joshua Horton. Horton ends up ahead. Brake a bit later down the inside, but you can carry a bit more speed around the outside, and there's a check-up with John Merritt trying to get facing the right way again.
You can just see him trying to get back up to speed, being swamped by all the cars around him. They're potentially going 2 or 3 wide through the long left-hand of turn 3 before they make their way down the straight into potentially the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. So plenty of spray being kicked up by the drivers all around him at the moment. So he will be on high alert as he's trying to get his car back up to speed and regain any of those positions that he lost. And around he goes.
He has a wobble through the middle of the corner. He pushes out wide and he gets spun around. Get just a little bit drilled in turn number 1 before all that. This is your race lead, Ewan Baker, sniffing around all over, looking for the grip on Ben Faulkner. I think it's quite challenging to defend in these wet conditions because your instinct is cover the inside, but there could be grip around the outside for your opponent.
Ewan Baker just losing a couple of car lengths there as he does go searching for extra grip. This particular lap not working for him. Jamie Stovall there in a new livery this season as well. He's part of the SSR crew, but looking in a aqua green and black livery, looking pretty spectacular here in the Toyota 86 series. You see cars 2-3 wide elbows out further back in the pack. This is Ben Wheeler back in 15th, so racing just as hard, buried deep in the field as what they are up the front towards the podium. It is a long season, opening round tonight. Lots of drivers keen to get a good start. As we look out the back of Ben Wheeler, and it looks like getting a really good drive down the inside. Just trying to work out who that potentially is. Jordan Dakin, I think it is.
Some spots changing hands here. Backwards from Hardwick at Wheeler and Dakin. Insert your grip here, there and everywhere. Biggest mover through the field at the moment is Tony Baker in 14th. So he's up the front of that and he has gained positions on positions on positions all the way up the front of the field. Faulkner still leads just ahead of Ewan Baker who picked up the fastest lap of the race, and Stovald and Freer side by side briefly there. That position in flux. It's Bono and Kirk as well, and you can see Chastanoff and Shepherd, I think it is, side by side back there. And then also, how about Douglas Gowans, Joshua Horton? Plenty of battling all through the field. Around the outside for Joshua Horton, that's where the grip is at Ferradura, but now he's got a massive sideways moment on that he needs to collect.
Yeah, doing a pretty good job to gather it up. There is some car contact there as they try and turn the car. It's just going a little bit pear-shaped as the two drivers come together. None of them potentially lost too much time. They all managed to keep going, but it nonetheless coming together and losing a couple of positions in the process.
I think I've seen this a couple of times, that the driver down the inside is pretty eager, but they find a bit of a slick patch and they kind of come across the car on the outside. I've seen it happen a few places.
You can see on the ladder on the left-hand side, everybody's still on wet weather tyres. The track is drying significantly, so the lap times are potentially going to start to drop as we see some dry sections of the track come about. We'll be interested to see whether anybody does dive into the pits, take the gamble and try and put on some dry tyres before the end of the race.
It's happened. Brendan Nealon did it, and it is not working for him at all. Dennis Hancock starting on the dry tyres. It is not working. So Brendan Nealon, they're on dry tyres. It explains itself very quickly why no one else has done it, right?
So the forecast is showing clear skies for the next hour or so. So 0% chance of rain coming. So what you see is what you get. This is what the drivers do have to deal with until the drop of the checkered flag. But out
This is
the
the race lead.
This is Ben Faulkner and Ewan Baker going side by side, something they have done already a couple of times in this little championship tonight, but Faulkner holding on around the outside as we have seen time and time again.
Wet up against that curb there. Race leader Faulkner goes out a little bit wide, cuts back, trying to get some traction up the hill to Bico de Pazzo. See Pluck dropping down the timing column as he's had a slide through Ferradura. This is Pluck around the outside of Ferradura, very, very well committed, and just catches a little bit of the grass somewhere, I think. Live radar is that there's no more rain to the end of this race. Fastest lap last race was in the 2:01s. I think we might be able to get sub 2 minutes if it keeps drying. It's first and second across the line. Second and third and fourth is Jamie Stovald and Tom Freer. And Faulkner picks up the fastest lap of the race as he has a clean one this time around. Got Gowans and Gerard, then Baker, Harris, Hardwick back here. Baker, still the biggest mover through the field, has maybe risen to about where the peak of his speed is here. Oh.
A little bit of contact, change of direction, and after a little bit of a wobble coming down out of turn one, and one of the velocity cars there reversing back out of the way, just waiting for an opportunity. Cameron Hardwick there after some pretty good efforts so far tonight, just coming a little bit unstuck after being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You can see just how hard the leaders are pushing out there at the moment. That's Ben Faulkner getting a little bit skatey on the change of direction under brakes.
They are, and Ewan Baker is making Ben Faulkner fight for this every single way, every single place they go. He's keeping the pressure on, but he's putting some pressure on himself as well. He did that last race. He's been out there. Ferocious here with Felberg, Wilkinson, Fritz, Williams, Riddell, and others. Taking every line, kicking up plenty of spray. New copper Locked On Lads livery. Gotta check out what those guys are doing, because pretty sure the new livery looks like it's a tie-in with Wilco working on the car that he's going to drive for charity.
Yeah, a couple of these liveries have caught me out tonight. We've seen some different drivers change teams, different livery outlooks on the different cars. So a little bit of movement in the off season for some of these drivers. Brady Shepherd's one of the drivers sticking with his proven success stories, I guess, with Vermilion Motorsport. He is up in P8 at the moment, going side by side with one of the Kiwi sim racing drivers, getting good drive through there. Back on the traditional racing line, getting the better of Hayden Kirk, who falls back in line.
There we go, lap times still improving for everyone. As I look up and down the timing column, the last lap was the personal best lap for basically everyone. So they're finding their confidence, but they're also seeing that the track is drying out, and as it just gives you more grip each time you go around, you find yourself willing to just push a little bit harder through every corner as well. We're picking up speed. This is Brendan Nealon, and surprise, he's gone back to wet tyres. So wherever the crossover is, it's not here and it's not yet. Wheeler and Baker. Baker with that long way round. Dry traction up the hill. Works out pretty good. And I've actually heard some very good things about Continental wet tyres. In some of the head-to-heads, the dry tyres are not quite as good as some other brands, but they're wet tyres. What do they call? Extreme contacts? No, something like that. They can be pretty good. And they look relatively predictable in these conditions. The slides are being caught. Drivers are working out where the grip is at. And the wet tyres are doing their job. Everyone going quicker. Sun out. I reckon we can get sub 2 minute laps.
Yeah, you can see the time starting to drop off as the sun comes out. These tyres, though, we're now, 6 laps into a 10-lap race. They're probably past their best. So while the track conditions are improving, you'll find the tyres are starting to drop off these cars. Hopefully things will become a little bit more predictable for them, but the lap times might not be potentially what you'd be seeing on a normal dry track.
You can tell we're still on the rain line through corners like there, so a long way away from what a dry track could do, but still constantly improving.
Jordan Dakin facing the wrong way, waiting for an opportunity to turn his car around. The Cichlid livery option there, having a little bit of issues and trying to work out which way is up as he gets himself back up to speed.
Here's De Bono just trying to take some slightly different lines from Jamie Stovald. I saw him take just a little more of the dry line through Junsal there and making it work to get some traction. Both of them closing in on Tom Freer, so how about another ferocious battle for third place heading towards the end of this race? Brent Faulkner still leads from Ewan Baker, but they're mighty close as well, as Baker has gone and set the fastest lap of the race on the lap just completed. There's Freer. Here comes Stovald. Here comes De Bono changing lanes as well to try to swoop around the outside of the both of them if he can. I think he'll get round the outside there to the inside. We have a bit of a squeeze, and in the end it all sorts itself back in the order it was.
Yeah, we saw a couple of laps ago, drivers try and do that side by side down through that turn 1, turn 2 section. A little bit of contact was made, so those particular drivers doing a pretty good job to give each other just enough room to keep things going in the right direction. But back out in front, Ben Faulkner, keeping this one under control. Ewan Baker is holding the fastest lap of the race at this stage as well, so putting plenty of pressure on and trying to capitalise on what was a race win in race number 1.
If it was just 2 cars in this race, I think it'd still be entertaining between Ben Faulkner and Ewan Baker. Instead, we've got another ripper Aussie car grid of 35 drivers, and it will come down to the final lap here, you feel, between Faulkner and Baker. Occasionally, Baker looks just a little bit quicker. Faulkner's done all the right things so far in these drying conditions.
Again, change of direction, a few different lines, looking and exploring for the fastest way through, but there is plenty of spray still being kicked up off the circuit, even though it is drying and the sun has come out. Still highlighting just how wet it is out there for some of these drivers.
So you would not place any bets at all on your top 5 just yet. Freya, Stovall, De Bono here in the bottom of your screen. Faulkner and Baker side by side for the race lead. Top of the picture, heading towards turn number 1. Round the outside looks Ewan Baker. I think that can be the way to go as they make just a tiny bit of contact. Faulkner trying to cover off Ewan Baker, who's now going over under, switchback, whatever he can with 2 laps to go. We're underneath 2 minutes. It's side by side, Freya and Stovall. De Bono will look to try to pick them off with a good exit in turn 2. He's all up on the curb for the inside of turn 3. Has a wobble, has a tiny tap on Jamie Stovall. Side by side, everywhere you look. Drying lines in effect at Interlagos for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. Faulkner still holds on to the lead. Freya has the inside covered for 3rd.
Yeah, Freya, of course, was our Stovall, of course, was our championship winner in race season number 1 in the Formula Fords, at P3 in race number 1. So good start to his campaign, but he will be doing everything he can to try and stay on that podium and not relegate himself down to P5. That doesn't help.
Oh. Jamie Stovall gets a tap, gets loosened up short track style, and then passed by Dylan De Bono, and I don't think I like that so much. Both of them were on the inside there of Ferradura, and Freya just had so much more grip around the outside. Still got Faulkner leading, and they're about to see the white flag in not too long.
That little battle's just given Freya a little bit of breathing room and sitting herself in P3 at the moment, about a second back to P4. So with a lap to go, white flag displayed as the leaders go round through the top of the hill for the final time. This is Ewan Baker looking for a run on the outside. Traditionally, you can normally get a pretty good run, and you just see as we jump on board exactly how that is unfolding. Maybe doing a practice run for the final run to the flag in a lap's time.
Would have been Baker a nose ahead. I think he's going to commit more around the outside this time. He is, of turn 1 to try to get the inside of 2. Little wobble from Faulkner, but then he picks up way more traction off of turn 2. Don't blame Baker for doing something different this time than he did a lap ago, but it's not quite the success he was after based on where the grip was at. Still got Freya in 3rd, with De Bono in 4th, Jamie Stovall in 5th, with maybe a chip on his shoulder to try to get that one back.
He's going to look for a passing opportunity. This potentially is his best option on this lap, but he sticks it down the inside as they go side by side. As we've seen in the past, there's a little bit more grip on the outside, but if Stovall can hold it here, he's going to have the benefit of around the outside on the run up to, I don't even know what you're calling it, Dave.
Ferradura.
That's it, thank you.
I'm not putting the full meat on the pronunciation though. I'm leaving some sauce.
Oh, I thought you were saying Ferris Bueller at the start of the night.
He's having a day off. Faulkner and Baker top of screen, side by side. Baker to the inside of Bico de Pato. That means the duck spill, but it's Shunsao, bottom of the hill, the junction. where Baker's had way more drive off of the corner and he's looking to the outside there. Faulkner's got the inside. Baker's been so strong around the outside line here, and it'll be a drag race up the hill. Who's got the gear shift? Who's got more traction? At the final time of asking, Ewan Baker gets ahead of Faulkner. There is going to be some slipstream even in these conditions for these cars, with the long run up towards the checkered flag at the top of the hill. But I think Baker's done the good work early to get in front. It'll be a close margin. There's the checkered flag. Baker takes it with a great move around the outside of the final corner. And Faulkner held on for 9.9 laps.
Yeah, still a battle for second, third and fourth, and it is Tom Freer getting the benefit of Jamie Stovall. Looks like Dylan DeBono did redress on that final lap, giving Stovall that position back into P4. Doing the right thing there. Further back, this is getting close towards the back of the top 10 though. Still slipstream effect as everybody is put to the floor trying to get their best run to the checkered flag. And everybody making it across the drop of the flag there without too much incident. Side by side, Sean Doyle, Tony Baker. Yes, correct.
For the next drag race, Baker needs a little bit more, needs a little bit of side draft. I'm not sure he's going to get all the way there. He's going to get close. And so Doyle will just hold on, and that's about half a tenth. Okay, we've had 2 drag races. How about a third? Peter Wilkinson and Leon Williams. Williams has got the short run and the inside against Peter Wilkinson, who runs all the way up. This one... Leon Williams
getting the better of Peter Wilkinson there. So Black Sheep Racing having better legs across the checkered flag than Peter Wilkinson in the locked-on livery. But tonight it was all about the Ewan Baker show, and Ben Faulkner pushing him every single inch of the way, coming right down until that run to the checkered flag on the last lap.
Tell you what, it can be messy racing in the wet, but it can be good racing too. Ewan Baker looks pretty pleased with himself, and I'd say it's deservedly so. He was putting just oodles and oodles of pressure on Ben Faulkner the whole race, side by side at times, and Baker couldn't get it quite done until that very, very final lap. So here's how they finished. Some pretty close results here for race number 2 at Interlagos. Ewan Baker from Ben Faulkner, less than a tenth. Baker holding on up the hill, having gone around the outside. Tom Freer, Jamie Stovall, Dylan DeBono pretty close, and then James Chastanoff, Hayden Kirk, Brodie Shepherd, Joshua Horton, and Douglas Gowans as the top 10. Matthew Gerard, Matthew Pluck, John Merritt, Warren Henry, Tim Harris, Sean Doyle, Tony Baker, Cameron Hardwick, Adrian Duke, and Dyson Freeman. Will Chen, Ben Wheeler, Glenn Riddell, Ara Felberg, Leon Williams, Peter Wilkinson, Matthew Joy, Daniel Fritz, Matthew Harriet, and John Snell. And then Jordan Dakin, Nathan Verney, Callum Heinrich, Brendan Nealon and Dennis Hancock both finding out that dry tyres just not quite the go today in these conditions. Most positions gained at the end of all of it, I think, was Dyson Freeman, plus 14th from basically all the way at the back of the grid and into 20th. Jason, who have we got that's going to have a chat with us post-race?
Yeah, we've got a couple of drivers that are making their way up to the commentary box as we speak. We might start with third place getter tonight and good start to the championship campaign. Welcome to Simspeed TV, Tom Freer.
G'day lads, how's everything?
Well, high and dry sitting up here in the commentary box, but looks like things are a little bit wet underfoot for yourself tonight, both races 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the water in these cars, to be honest. There's a lot of fun in the Formula 4, but these things are just, they're just eskies with wheels, really, so, yeah.
Well, either way, you managed to come through with the goods tonight, particularly in race number 2. So managing to steer yourself into a pretty good position. So a P8 in race number 1, and then up another 5 positions to find yourself on the podium. So it was a bit of, I wouldn't say up and down night, but race number 1 was a little bit stagnant, but definitely found your feet for race number 2.
Yeah, I think race number 1 was just learning. I did a lot of 360s in that first race, so it was nice in race 2 just to not make a mistake. But we obviously have a lot of work to do because those 2 up front are lightning fast. So yeah, hopefully we can bring back some of the gap in the next few rounds.
Well, you did learn something. Obviously, the gap in race number 1 was out to 16 seconds, and it was just under 9 for race number 2. But you definitely had your hands full. You had Jamie Stovall, Dylan De Bono hot on your tail, not making it easy for you, but doing everything you needed to do there on the final couple of laps just to give yourself a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, like Jamie and I were working together. Obviously, we knew we just had to park Dylan up, and he couldn't really do much. So you know, the thing with the rain is where the water finds itself on the track. If you park them up in the right direction, well, in the right lane, they don't really have much of a response because they got to go through puddles, and you know, they have to hit the edge of the circuit, like the white lines and stuff. So you know, you can move them around a lot, which is quite handy. But yeah, we're quite lucky with Dylan at the end there because he was really fast, so somehow we hung on. But yeah, we'll take it, I guess.
So you did make the comment before, the transition from the Formula Ford across to the Toyota 86 was a bit of a learning curve. You've got a couple of weeks or 5 more rounds before we put these things to bed. So I'm sure you'll get your things on top of things before the end of the championship season. But we've got some good circuits, some good tracks, and of course now with the wet weather potentially throwing itself in amongst the mix, there's definitely some room for some good racing in the next few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think Ozicar come up with some really good calendars, and I actually like how versatile the series is, going to different cars and just new experiences every 6 weeks. I think that's a real positive for the community to have something like that, something you can jump in on a Monday night and just have an absolute ball. So obviously a big thanks to those guys, like for them to put the work in they do to create, you know, these seasons so we can go racing and have fun. It's quite an effort.
Before we let you go, Tom, shout out to teammates, sponsors, supporters, anyone else you want to thank before we let you go.
Yeah, obviously big thanks to my little brother, Jamie Stovall, all the boys at SSR. You know, they actually had a setup for us this week in this car and this track, which was quite surprising. But yeah, obviously big thanks to them, big thanks to the sponsors, Works Racing Components and Watercraft Performance Centre, and obviously all you boys for putting on the broadcast, and Ozicar for giving us a great series to go racing in.
Well, congratulations on a strong start to the championship campaign. We'll look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time, and hopefully you can get your ducks lined up and we'll find yourself in the commentary box giving you accolades again in a fortnight.
Hope so. Thanks, guys.
So, 3rd place tonight in our feature race here on the opening round of the Ozicar Tin Top Series. Tom Freer making a great start to his championship campaign. And Dave, I think you've gone walkabout, and there's potentially a few other drivers that are wanting to have a microphone stuck in their face and have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, maybe you've opened Pandora's box a little bit. I think we have to go to 3rd place in race number 1 then as well. And kick things off, I guess, how's the switch from Formula Ford to Toyota going, Jamie?
I mean, I was hoping for a top 3 in both races, but yeah, it's a lot different from an open wheel car. These ones seem to be a lot better in the wets because they actually have like a proper wet tyre, but yeah, quite a bit different. A lot of fun still though.
Definitely seemed it. I mean, all across both races, there just seemed to be this 3rd place tussle going on that you were there and thereabouts with, and exactly, you know, who's in best position, where the racing line is constantly changing.
Yeah, yeah, it seemed that the moment they get into the draft, it was sort of inevitable that they were going to catch up unless they made a mistake. And I was sort of mirror driving probably a bit more than I should have Made a few mistakes, but yeah.
I think a lot of people made just a few little mistakes. Standing starts in these cars, it looks like they're not quite built for it. That first gear is very tall.
Yeah, it was extremely underwhelming. The first race taking off from a standing start, was really careful on the clutch, and then when I fully let it out, nothing really happened. I thought the car might have been off or something. But yeah, definitely, I think the Formula Ford even has a quicker start than that, so I'll have to work on some 8.6 starts.
Great pictures in these conditions. A chance that some of the future races are sort of a dry to wet or wet into drying off enough to make the tyre change. How far away were we from the dry tyre crossover, do you think?
I think we were still quite a while off, especially at Interlagos, because we did some testing a little bit, and it takes a long time to dry off. Even if it looks super dry and ready to change to slicks in some areas of the track, you get to some corners where it's pretty much undrivable in the slicks, so it's just safer to stay on wets. I think, yeah, the intention that Ira was trying to do was to make it long enough for the weather to change so that we'd have to swap tyres, but yeah, with races that length, I don't think it's really worth it. But yeah,
Real interesting bit will be if we get a race where you're tossing up, do I start the race on wets or dry tyres, and we have a little bit of variation there, and maybe someone starts on dries, drops back, but then the wet starters can't really afford the pit delta and they have to stay out, and then the dry tyres start to come back through them, I reckon, more than anyone going through pit lane.
yeah, I think we're gonna eventually end up seeing that. The settings are still pretty new for the rain stuff, so I think he'll get it just the way he likes it, and have people on different strategies and pit stops and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure it will happen, especially for the endurance rounds that we had.
Well, congrats. I think we've got plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, guys.
And next up, Ben Faulkner. I think that's right, Jason Fewers. I think you can find Ben Faulkner, who's been trying out his bridesmaid outfit.
Yeah, I've taken a microphone, gone for a walk down to the garages, and I do have with me Vermilion Motorsport manager Ben Faulkner, doing everything tonight to put on an absolutely stellar show. Plenty of pressure being applied in race number 1, took the upper hand and the advantage in race number 2, and threw every single thing you had at it. And unfortunately, just as that run to the checkered flag got pipped, but putting on a hell of a performance nonetheless, Ben.
Yeah, it was a bit of an interesting one. I didn't really know what to expect. For the last few laps in the second race, I was a bit unsure on what the strategy was to try and keep the lead to the line. I made a little mistake on the corner before the little downhill left, and Ewan was beside me, and tried to sort of keep him beside me. But there was just so much grip on the outside still, and couldn't get the run. But yeah, it was a close race. I enjoyed it. It was good fun. We seemed to pull away quite a bit in both races, both of us. So I think it'll be an interesting battle between us in the season. Yeah,
it was yourself and Ewan obviously putting plenty of daylight between you early in race number 1, getting that lead out to 16 odd seconds, but only managing a 9-second gap in race number 2. So weather conditions changing throughout the course of the race, there was different lines being explored from both yourself and Ewan, looking for the opportunity to get the advantage. Obviously, from the moment the lights went green to the drop of the checkered flag, you were racing on the edge of what the circuit had to offer.
Yeah, I jumped into practice and it was all rain, so I really was a bit unsure on where to brake and everything, and when it became a bit drier. So I was sort of just trying to learn each lap and brake later and later to see how far I could go, and sort of tighten up the line towards the inside as it dried up a bit more. But yeah, seeing towards the end I just didn't have as much pace or knowledge of the dry weather compared to Ewan, which didn't help as much, but that happens. Yeah, I was scared coming into practice because everyone was doing like 10 seconds, 11 seconds quicker. But yeah, I think that was the rain weather.
So prior to the Ozicar Tin Top series, have you done a lot of, or have you got much experience in the 286?
Yeah, me and Jamie Christensen used to do quite a bit. We did some Prodigy stuff. We ran in a few other leagues, and we do quite a lot of official 86 races when we have a chance. So yeah, we do both have quite a lot of experience, and we do enjoy them. So for it today, and thought I'd just register and jump in.
Well, obviously you're putting the cat amongst the pigeons and putting your best foot forward there. Both races separated by the smallest of margins. So definitely second place, nothing to sneeze at. Hopefully we'll see you as the season unfolds. We've still got 5 more rounds ahead of us, and if tonight's any indication that you're definitely a contender there to take out the championship win.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome season, especially with all the weather coming into it now. It's going to be a very interesting season. I'm looking forward to battling with you again in the next few rounds.
All right, Ben, well, thank you for joining us here, Simspeed TV commentary. Looking forward to seeing what you can produce in a fortnight's time as we look forward to race number 1 of heat number 2. Obviously, pretty healthy hunting ground here at Interlagos tonight, and carry that speed and that form into future rounds. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks, boys.
Dave, I'll
Well,
leave
there's
you
one
to
more.
have a chat with our race 1, race 2 winner.
The double winner joins us. Good fight all the way through both races, I reckon there, Ewan.
Oh, it was absolutely an entertaining night from start to finish. Yeah, pressure didn't let up at all. Ben was absolutely on it, and it was, fantastic battle and a lot of fun.
Race 2, he got ahead of you there, led a lot of the way. The track was drying up. Did you think maybe you were not going to be able to get there?
Yeah, honestly, I spent most of that race thinking, like, it's done, he's got through, I'm not going to be able to get it. He was very, very smart at covering the line in exactly the right place. So anytime I would get a run, he'd position his car on the dry bit or like off the racing line, and I just knew I had no grip. So I almost actually tagged him when he passed me initially just because I was on the slippy stuff, and it just washed right out in the corner. So yeah, he was very heads up with driving defensively and doing a fantastic job, and it was almost kind of by luck that penultimate lap coming into the last corner at the bottom of the hill, I just found a slightly different line, had so much grip and such a good run up that I passed him by the time we crossed the line, and I thought, okay, that'll be handy. I'll see if I can do that on the last lap. And yeah, fortunately it all came together, but God, it was so close. It could easily have gone either way between us.
I've asked this of others, but I'll take your opinion. How far away were we from dry tyre crossover there at the end of race 2?
Honestly, with the way iRacing's done this, I find it very deceptive, because you look at the track and you think, okay, it's dry, there's dry bits off the line, and you think surely it's maybe 1, 2, 3 laps away, but there was still spray. Like everywhere we ran, there was still spray coming out of the back. So I don't know, it's not a position I've raced in yet, so instinct would tell me a few laps away from slicks, but I also get the feeling that if you try that, you're just going to be spinning down the road.
Very, very interesting, and of course it's something we all have to keep an eye on going forward. Any tracks coming up in the schedule that you're looking forward to?
Need to actually think off the top of my head. Belle Isle's going to be a good one. Love a good street track, and if there's rain there, it's going to be chaos, but in a good way. At least these cars can take a bit of a bash and a hit, so yeah, I think that'll be a very fun race. I think about the Enduro at Nürburgring could be interesting, would lend itself well. Other than that, I've not any tracks that I'm like overly enthused about, but no tracks that I dislike either. So big thing for me is just to sort of go in and just keep momentum rolling, because with last season with Formula Fords, it was lack of consistency that got me in the end. I had the most race wins of the season, but Jamie was just ultra consistent race round in, round out. So yeah, big thing is whatever track, whatever conditions, whoever's up front, I just need to make sure I finish up towards the top whenever I can.
Well, it was a super entertaining way to kick off Ozicar Tin Top Cup, and hopefully it remains that way, and we'll see you for plenty more racing.
Oh, I'm sure it will be pretty hectic and very close all the way through, so it's going to be good fun.
Good luck with the pub, mate.
Cheers.
Ewan Baker, double race winner, but it did not look like a certainty in race number 2. He really had to fight for it. Also held on through all of race 1 there as well. Close between himself and Ben Faulkner, who looks just that little shoulder above the rest of the field. We'll see if that carries on. Round 2 from Okayama International Circuit in 2 weeks' time, 15th of April. You'll see it here on Simspeed TV. We hope you'll join us. And of course, big thanks to the supporters of Aussie Car, Locked On Lads, Sim Racing League's Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. Make sure you're following Simspeed TV wherever you're watching for all of the great racing we're going to bring you across other leagues and championships as well. Aussie Car will see you in 2 weeks' time, and so will we, David Haynes, Jason Fewens, and Jay Kennedy.